Hey guys, Kyle here, Gnarly Knives. I'm actually very excited to do this video with you guys today. Recently, about a half hour ago, just got back from my local Army-Navy store and just picked up a blade I'm pretty happy about. Before I go into that, I want to say I do have a little idea what I want to start doing. I know I've mentioned before when I start getting new knives, what I want to do is, because I generally what I'll do is I'll get a knife, first thing I do is sharpen it and take it apart, do everything like that. I want to start doing first impression reviews. So this knife I picked up. It is the Benchmade griptilian 551-1. It's the CPM 20CV version with the G10. I have not sharpened this yet. I have not taken it apart. I haven't cut anything yet with it. This is fresh out of the box, if you will. And I want to start doing it like this, where I'll talk about the knife, what I like, what I kind of noticing, anything like that. And then probably a couple months from now, I'll do a full-term review after I have more experience and usage with that knife, or in this case, this knife. I want to start doing it like that so you can give you guys a better idea of what it is the knife is going to be like when you buy it, when it comes to you out of the box, if you get it at a store, what have you, what you can better expect. Because, upon doing a little thinking and reflecting, kind of realize, well, I'm putting my own edges on it so that I can kind of skew what exactly you yourself would be getting. So, with that being said, oh my god, I'm sorry. I forgot to do the garage thing. It happened a couple other videos. Whatever. Sorry about that. Won't happen again now. But so, just real quick, we'll go through the specs on this. So this is, like I said, the griptilian, the full size, not the mini grip. This is the full size griptilian 551-1. It is the CPM 20 CV blade. It has the drop point, a little bit of a swedge, and it is saber ground. It is a 3.5-inch blade. Overall length on the handle, or the knife and the handle when open, we're looking at just over 8 inches. And the weight, I do want to get a scale so I can do my own weight test, or my own checking the weights myself. But checked around a couple places, they're all saying it's right around 4 ounces, just over 4 ounces. So it's not the lightest knife, but definitely not the heaviest. It's not like Ontario Rat 1, which is about 5 ounces. So if you have experience with that knife, this will be a little lighter than that. This knife, we'll just do price quick. The knife, if you look, I looked on Amazon right before this video. The knife is going for about $180. So that is something if you are interested in more higher end knives or anything like that, if you have a griptilian, or say you don't have a griptilian but you're looking maybe different options with them. The standard griptilian comes in S30V, has the same length dimensions, the 3.5-inch blade, 8 inches overall. It goes for about $110 to $115. They also do make the mini versions. They also have a mini version of this. I do have the mini griptilian, the standard one, but it's the older one when they were still using 154 cm. That's a knife actually now my fiance is carrying. She carries with her, and she does really like that. Ooh, sorry, I just kicked my table. But I like the griptilian. I carried it a little bit, the original one that I got, the mini. But it was just a little small for my hands. My fiance, though, of course, has much smaller hands than me. It fits her hands perfectly. So figured why not? She can have it. I'm not really into getting rid of or selling knives. Kind of once they come to me, this is where they shall live, if you will. And I'm really excited to have finally picked this up. This is something I have been kind of looking at. I've seen it at that Army-Navy store a few times. Handled it a couple of times. It always ended up going with something different. And most of the time, if there's a Spyderco there that I want, I'll usually go for that. As I've mentioned in other videos, Spyderco is my favorite pocket knife company. I love Spydercos. Benchmade is definitely in my top 3. So, wasn't any, I don't know, I just was like, I want to go with the Benchmade today. And this was still there. So I was like, I pulled the trigger, finally decided to grab it. I am actually really liking this a lot. I mean, like I said, I have handled it before, so I knew I liked how it felt and stuff, but I do really enjoy how this fits in the hand. The handle, the ergonomics are pretty good. I like that it doesn't really have any major cut-ins or anything. I mean, you do have your finger guard, but it's relatively neutral, so I feel like it should fit most hand types. Even if you do have smaller hands, I feel like this should fit fairly well. Actually, my daughter, who's about to turn 7, I had her kind of mess around with it, play with it, and she said she liked it how it felt in her hand. But I don't know, I guess, you could wonder how reliable a 7-year-old is in that sense with their knife opinions. But she does actually know quite a bit about knives, I guess, as opposed to your average 7-year-old. But her hands are obviously much, much smaller than mine, and she thought it was still fairly comfortable. I really do like that it feels like you can hold it in a couple different ways. Even, and I know this is more like a carving type of hold where you hold the knife backwards if you're doing like your chest lever pulls or anything like that, but it still fits the hand well, and it does have the nice curves. It does have a good amount of jimping. There's a little thumb ramp with the jimping, and then right up the top inch, pretty much from here to here, has a little jimping, and then just in the G10, there's a little here, but it's not rough. It doesn't dig into the hand or anything, so it is actually pretty comfortable. And it's a griptilian, so it's called that because its main thing is the grip. So it absolutely does deserve that name. I'm not worried at all about this knife coming out of my hands. It is fitting pretty well, and they do give you some good texturing along the sides, but it's not ridiculous where it just covers the whole thing. I like that it does have some smoother parts of the handle, but it does fit the hand very well, and it is very comfortable, and I do feel very confident holding this, that I'm not worried about, what I'm doing, or if I'm sweating, or if, it's whatever. If I'm outside and it's raining, I'm not worried about it coming out of my hand or it's slipping out. There is very good traction on it. Another thing I do like is this does have basically a full deep carry clip. It is that loop over, so you can see, but it does leave just a little bit of room up at the top. Looking at it, maybe like 3/16 of an inch poking up out. Some knives, I say true deep carry because some knives, they'll be like the clip will be level with the bottom of the handle. I have a few knives like that, and they are fine for the most part, but I like that just a little bit pokes out. It's not a huge amount. Where the screws are down here, so you would have close to a 1/2 of an inch poking out, but the way they do it here, it really alleviates probably 1/8 of an inch or so. Actually, probably a little more than that. Like I said, there's probably about 3/16 of an inch, a little over 1/8, but definitely less than 1/4. So it gives you enough, because I've messed a little with just in and out of my pocket, and I just find it's easy to grip, and it just pulls right out. So that I do like, and it is you still get that discreetness, because you only, when it's in your pocket, you only have that poking up out. So I like that. I like that they do it that way. This is painted clip, so me personally, I actually kind of like clips that are dark for 2 reasons. One, they don't stand out and stuff. For example, what I've been carrying pretty much most of the time, the paramilitary 2, but you see it has the metal clip, unpainted or coated, what have you, so it can be kind of shiny, kind of stands out more. You can be like, oh yeah, that guy's carrying a knife. But what I do like, though, some people don't like, because it wears if you bump into stuff or whatever. As you're using it, it rubs and wears off. For me, that's actually a plus. I kind of enjoy that weathered look. To me, it's like, oh wow, yeah, it gets used, so that's something I enjoy. Might not be for everyone, but just thought I would throw that out there. The action is actually really nice. I think this is my 5th Benchmade. I have 2 fixed blades, but the 3 pocket knives are theirs I have. So now this one, I have the Benchmade 560, which I've done a review on. That knife I carry, and it's my work knife. I carried it for several months at my previous job, and switched over to the Cold Steel Code 4 for a while, and S35EN. It's a really good knife and everything. I will do a review on that. But went back to the Benchmade. I kind of carried a few different knives the first week or so I worked there, and I was like, I miss carrying my Benchmade. To me, I think Benchmade, they do make very, very good quality knives. They make tough knives. I know it's something that, you hear discussed other videos and stuff. People talk about their quality control. It can be iffy here and there. The only two things I've noticed with this, one is just the blade isn't completely dead center. For me, it's not a huge deal. You know, it's, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of tough to tell. It looks like it's centered here. You can see on this side, it kind of floats over just a hair bit. I'm not too worried about it, because like I said, after this video, I'm going to sharpen it, throw my own edge on it, and then I am going to take it apart, and just, I just like cleaning it and just doing my own thing. It's, you know, it's not, absolutely not necessary. I just do it with every single knife. For me, that's just part of the buying a knife, becoming intimate with it. You know, it's kind of like whenever I get a car, the first thing I do is just, you know, whether it needs it or not, you know, I'll change the oil, all the fluids, spark plugs, and just go to town. Whether they need it or not, it just, for me, it gives me some peace of mind, and I just kind of like doing it. One thing I did notice, I'm not too worried about it, because I had the same issue with my Benchmade 560. I did discuss a little bit in the review, from what I remember, but just a little bit of lock stick, and what I mean by that is just so when you flip it open, if you flip it open hard, you kind of hear it just, when I do it really hard, you can kind of hear that. It just sticks a little bit. It doesn't quite want to let itself go, but now that it's already been let go, alright, so it's not, there we go. You know, so it's just a little clanky. I think part of that is just with it wearing in. It's not to the extent of my 560, the Benchmade Freak, because I had that happen twice where the knife opened and I just could not for the life of me get the access lock to go down. This here seems like, you know, it's just a little sticky, but I feel like through wearing in, through usage and, you know, the opening and closing and everything, and then throwing a little oil in there. That's probably one of the reasons, too, why I like to, when I take my knives apart, and oil what should be oiled and everything, and get them going. But with my 560, I did have, like I said, 2 times where I opened it, and it just did not, oh, there we go, it just did it again. But I could not for the life of me get it to close. Like, it was almost dangerous, where I had to really, like, try and, like, force the blade down and push in at the same time. The first time it happened, like I said, it was just, I had a lot of trouble getting it closed. The second time, I just had to use a lot of force, and I got it down, and it has not happened since. My 560, I've probably taken it apart 4 or 5 times now, and since it's worn in, it's very worn in now, but I've not had any issues with it since then. But my original griptilian, I never had any issues with it. But this one I just feel a little bit, but I just feel like through some usage and, you know, just taking it apart, throwing maybe a little oil in there on the access lock, and, you know, maybe getting the Omega springs a teeny bit, see what it does then. But like I said, I'm not really too worried about it. And then I feel like that slight blade being off center a bit, I feel like just taking it apart and messing with the pivot a bit, it'll be back to true. Then also too, just there's no blade play at all, up or down, left or right. It is put together very well. I mean, Benchmade, you know, that's why you pay a lot for them. That's one of the reasons. You know, I know Nick Shabazz jokes calls it the butterfly tax, where just because you're paying a little bit for prestige. And you know what, I'm absolutely fine with that. You know, I mean, if this was a $250 knife, I'd be like, you know, I'm all set. I'll just move on to another one. But I actually got a pretty good deal on this. At the store I got it at, I ended up actually getting it for $160. So I was actually, you know what, yeah, I jumped on it. I couldn't not do it, if you will. Because, you know, retail markup, which you originally selling it for $200, but the knife had been sitting there for quite a while. Like I said, I handled it a few times, and when I handled it again, I looked and I saw that the price went down $40, and I knew that it usually goes for about $180, and they were selling it for $200, and now I just was able to pick it up for $160. So that's not an always occurrence thing. Sometimes if you know, frequent your knife distributors, if you will, you can find stuff like that. So, you know, it's always good to search around, and I'm pretty happy with that, honestly, especially with the blade steel. I am very excited. You know, CPM 20CV, it is basically just the crucible version of Bowler M390. The material is very similar. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember the exact percentages, but I remember the carbon content is the same in CPM 20CV and M390. The chromium content is the same in 20CV and M390, as well as the vanadium content. The vanadium, if I do remember correctly, was 4%, and that was the same with both. So there were some slight little differences. I think, was it silicone or something? Silicon, whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong. The pronunciation there was a little different. It has a little more M390 has a little bit more of the silicone or whatever in it, but everything else was basically the same. So, you know, slight little differences, but it's a very tough steel. It's a very stainless steel, and it has pretty good edge retention. I do have some experience with M390. I don't own any M390 knives, but my brother-in-law has, I can't remember, I don't remember the name of the knife or the company off the top of my head, but his is a M390 knife. It's a brand that I'm not very familiar with. He got a good deal on. I think he picked it up for like $120 or something, but it's with titanium handles. I will find out what it is, and I can let you guys know if anybody is interested in that. I have seen it before on Amazon. That's where he picked it up. But M390, I didn't find it to have really any issue to sharpen. I've sharpened his a few times, and he's let me carry it and mess around with it a bit. And it is a pretty decent knife, but more or less the steel, because that's really what I was more curious about. You know, as I've gotten further into my, you know, knife obsession, I'm really more interested. Most of the interest I put into knives really is the steel now. I mean, like I said, you know, it's a knife I've wanted for a while, and I was like, you know what, 20CV, boom, sold for the price. I would have felt like I would have been stupid I couldn't have passed it up. But, you know, like I said, because when I first started getting into knives, I didn't really know as much about steels. I didn't really do sharpening to the extent that I do now. You know, I'll be honest, I'm ashamed to say it, but, you know, when I started sharpening, I was using those pull-through sharpeners, and, you know, if you use them, whatever, I mean, they, you know, I guess they technically put an edge on, but I found other methods that I prefer and enjoy more. But I started getting more into sharpening, started getting more into steels, so I feel like now I'm trying to more round out my collection with steels more so than I am with knives. I mean, for example, you know, like, I could have got the standard griptilian, the full-size one. Granted, it would have different materials. This is the G10, but the standard one is a plastic. I really do forget what it is. It's very similar to the FRN, like the Spyderco's and stuff have, but I like the way Spyderco has it a little bit better than Benchmade's plasticky material, if you will. Forgive the technical terms. But, sorry, I just love playing with these. But it is a really good knife from what I am seeing so far. I mean, so I do have slight experience with it, like I said, with having the mini griptilian. It was just small. You know, I have bigger hands. It was just small for my hand. And, you know, this thing really fits in my hand very, very well. It is very comfortable. And I even like the way the clip is set up. You know, it could just be the position. I don't think it's so much to have to do with the loop over, just the size of it and everything and where it's placed. Because I just notice a lot of times, you know, it digs into my hand right in here when I'm holding a knife, and I have found this to really, I can feel the clip is there, but it's not digging in, it's not giving any hot spots. You know, an example I could use is I have the Steel Will Resident. It's a really good knife. I really like that knife a lot. I showed it in the Gentleman Folder and Gentle Lady Folder video. It was, I think, probably my second or third video I had done. But that has the true deep carry loop over where it's nice and flush with the handle, and it is a pretty comfortable knife for the most part. But for me, the biggest thing is just that clip. It just really digs into the hand when I'm using it. So I don't know, but this here though, the way it's done, maybe part of it is because it's not right up against the top of the hand, or right up against flush with the handle. But I do not have that issue with it. Of course, time will tell. Like I said, this is really just the first impressions. So in a couple months, I mean, I will start carrying this more. I'm probably going to be switching out the paramilitary 2s for a while, because actually the last couple of weeks now I've been carrying the S110V model. Excuse me. But I really want to get to know this knife very well. I think sharpening it will get me pretty intimate with the steel. Taking it apart will get me familiar with the knife. But actually carrying and using and everything, I think I really want to get to know this knife very well before I give a full, like, yes, you should go out and buy it, or like, yeah, you know, whatever. But, and because like I said, I really enjoy Benchmades. And I don't know, it'll be a good thing too, because, you know, because this, and I do have, you know, a good few, well, in fixed blades, I have a ton of saber grinds, but for pocket knives, I have, you know, probably 8 to 10 pocket knives with saber grinds, but generally what I carry most of the time are just flat grinds. You know, I love them or hate them, I'm sorry, but I love Spydercos, so, and most Spydercos are flat grinds, and that's, you know, if this is in my pocket, if the A Paramilitary 2 is in my pocket 80% of the time, then, you know, if we're being honest, 90% of the time that I'm carrying a knife, it is a Spyderco. But, which sadly will change. Not necessarily this, but in general, because now I have a channel, and I need to check out and use all different knives, and so I'm going to have to, I'm sorry, Ben, sorry, Spyderco. You will have to go off to the side for a bit, but that is alright, I still love you. But I am very excited for this knife, and I'm excited for, like I said, probably in a month I'll probably end up doing it. The way I kind of was thinking about it was actually on my way back from the Army-Navy store, was that, you know, I want to do the first impressions review, and then from there, I'll do, you know, like I said, a month to 2 months later, do a more comprehensive review, and then, you know, probably 6 months a year down the line of owning a knife, we'll do, you know, a long-term review, so if anything has changed since then. But I don't know, I think that's pretty much it there. I don't think there's really much else to say without really repeating myself, probably more than I already have. But, you know, it is something I do look forward to, my time with this, and, you know, it's a very pretty knife. They've done a really good job with it. You know, I don't have any G10 knives that are, you know, quite like this, the texturing, if you will. I do have, you know, I have quite a few fixed and folding knives that have G10, but this, it's just different. The way they do it with this, I really like it, because you know, it does have the grip in the middle section of the handle, but then you can kind of see it just has, you know, probably just from the grinding, just little, like, it just looks almost kind of like wood grain, and I really dig that. I think at least I can appreciate that. You know, being someone who works with wood, I can dig that, you know. But, yeah, so honestly, let me know what you guys think. If you have this knife, or any griptilians, or Benchmades, or knives in general, just let me know in the comments, and we can talk about it some more. You know, I love talking about them, and I love hearing other people's experiences. I mean, you know, everything, 90% of the stuff on any knife channel, or what, I guess you could look at anything, is really just opinion-based. You know, is subjective for the most part. I mean, with the exception of the specs. Like, I mean, alright, yeah, it's a 3.5-inch blade. Alright, it's not an opinion, it's just what it is. You know, but, you know, stuff talking about, like, ergonomics, or even just the sharpening. Alright, I mean, yeah, like I could say ZDP 189 takes longer to sharpen than, I don't know, 154 CM, but some people, I've watched videos, they're like, oh, I hate it, I hate when I have to sharpen ZDP. For me, it doesn't bother me that much. You know, but, I don't know, it depends on that person. But, yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I haven't mentioned before, I really should have, but if you do really like the content on the channel, feel free to check out on Instagram. I have a channel with the same name. Well, it's just Gnarly Knives, but spelled the same way. On YouTube here, it's Gnarly Knives, Gear and Outdoors. Instagram, it's just Gnarly Knives. But it has stuff, you know, relating to the channel. I'll start posting things where, kind of give you guys maybe a heads up, like, oh, I'm going to do this video tomorrow or later, or coming soon. And then also, too, just, you know, it's just kind of an extension of YouTube in the sense you can just see, if you scroll through, you can see all other knives and stuff that I have or I've worked on. You know, especially if you go, like, further back in the YouTube, Instagram page, you can see, you know, I put a bunch of knife handles together, sheaths, or just anything. You know, pretty much anything knife or woodworking or whatever related. I throw a lot of stuff up on there, and yeah, so it might be interesting for you to check it out if you are so inclined. But remember, keep carving, stay sharp, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.